Hi, Mark Pelly here, Registered Migration Agent at Visas to Australia. Today we're going to be talking about the Skilled Nominated Subclass 190 visa. Now this is a permanent visa allowing you and your immediate family to move to Australia indefinitely to work in a nominated position. You will need to have an occupation that is on the skills list. To be eligible for the Skilled Nominated Visa Subclass 190, you will need to be invited after submitting an expression of interest. You'll need to be nominated by an Australian state or territory government agency. Remember that all states and territories have their own criteria for deciding who they will nominate. You need to contact each state or territory directly to find out more about their nominated process. You must have the relevant skills assessment valid at the time of invitation. Your skills assessment must have been obtained within the past 3 years at the date of invitation. If you are assessed based on an Australian qualification obtained from a student visa, your course must be recognised with the CRICOS. If you are a medical or legal practitioner, you only need to demonstrate full or unconditional registration with AHPRA or an admission to a practice in law in your relevant state or territory. You have to be under the age of 45 when invited to apply. If you are 45 or over after invited, you can still apply. You must have over 65 points. The Skilled Nominated Visa Subclass 190 is a points-tested visa. If you do not obtain 65 points, you will not be invited for this visa. You must be able to demonstrate that you have at least competent English. You need to meet the skills requirements of having an occupation from the relevant skills occupation list. You need to meet all necessary health and character requirements, sign the Australian Value Statement, not have had previous visas cancelled or refused. Being a permanent visa, the Skilled Nominated 190 visa allows you to work and study in Australia, stay here indefinitely, enrol in the Medicare program, and when eligible, you could apply for Australian citizenship. Now, the Skilled Nominated Visa Subclass 190 costs $4,045 to apply for. There are additional costs for extra family members, as well as health, character and biometric tests as well. For the Skilled Nominated Visa, you'll need to demonstrate that you have necessary English requirements to be eligible for the nominated position as specified in the Visa Nomination Occupation List for each state. All applicants must at the minimum have an International English Language Testing System or IELTS score of at least 6 in each band. Certain occupations, however, may have higher standards of English for the purpose of state nomination. If you have been working in your state or territory for at least 6 months, you may be exempt from meeting the higher English language requirements. Alternative English language tests can also be accepted by the Department of Home Affairs for the purpose of the Skilled Nominated Visa Subclass 190. If you are the citizen of the United Kingdom, USA, Canada, Ireland or New Zealand, you do not need to submit an English language test. Now, the Skilled Nominated Visa Subclass 190 is a points-tested visa. You need to have at least 65 points at the time of invitation. However, some occupations may require more points. Essentially, the more points that you have, the more chance that you have of being invited to apply for this visa. We're going to go through each of these different types of points and how they can be allocated for you. The first points we're going to look at is in relation to age. Points awarded to age, except for the 25 to 33-year-old age range, decrease gradually over time. The closer to 30 you are, the more points you can obtain for the Subclass 190 visa. As you can see, if you're between 18 and 25 years old, you can get 25 points. Between 25 and 33, you get 30 points. 33 to 40 years, you get 25 points. And between 40 and 45, you can get 15 points. With regards to English language skills, the more proficient your English language skills, the higher the points you can earn towards your Subclass 190 visa. While competent English is the minimum requirement, you obtain 0 points if you only have competent English. Proficient English grants you 10 points, and if you can demonstrate superior English, you can get 20 points. With regard to skilled employment experience, you can take a look at both Australian and overseas employment. The greater the number of years experience working, the higher the points that are awarded to you for the Subclass 190 visa. It is important to know that you can only claim points for employment towards the Subclass 190 visa if you are working in a job that is for your nominated skilled occupation or closely related, and I can't stress this enough. The periods of work described below are for only 10 years work experience prior to your applying. For any Australian employment, you must have either held an Abridging Visa A, B, or a substantive visa and complied with the conditions of that visa to claim the employment. For the purpose of the Skilled Nominated Visa Subclass 190, employment is defined as being engaged in paid occupation for at least 20 hours per week for which you are remunerated. You have to note it is not up to you to define what is or is not closely related in occupation. Closely related occupations must be either in the same ANZ SCO group or consistent with the career advancement pathway for your nominated position. Or it needs to be recognised by an assessing authority as a closely related position to your nominated occupation as part of your skills assessment. Under the point system for the skilled nominated visa subclass 190, there is a cap of 20 maximum available points. That means if you score more than 20 points for your combined employment experience, you'll only be awarded a maximum of 20 points. With regard to Australian skilled employment in Australia, if you've been employed for less than 1 year, you get 0 points. Between 1 and 3 years, you can obtain 5 points. Between 3 to 5 years, 10 points. 5 to 8 years, 15 points, and of course more than 8 years, 20 points. For overseas skilled employment outside of Australia, if you've been employed for less than 3 years, you can get 0 points, between 3 to 5 years, 5 points, 5 to 8 years, 10 points, and more than 8 years, you can obtain 15 points. Again, I highlight that you can only obtain a maximum of 20 points. So if you obtained 8 years of employment outside of Australia and 8 years of employment in Australia, that becomes a total of 35 points. However, it will be reduced to a maximum of 20 points. When referring to educational qualifications, the higher your recognised educational qualifications are, the more points you can obtain towards the skilled nominated visa subclass 190. It is important to know that if your qualification was obtained outside Australia, you'll need to get a recognition of your qualifications here. The authority undertaking your skills assessment may determine if your qualifications are comparable to the relevant Australian equivalent. Further, assessing authorities are listed against your occupation in the relevant skills list of the eligible skilled occupation. You cannot be working towards your qualification in order to claim points. You must have actually obtained the qualification at the time you're invited to apply for the visa. If it is that your overseas qualification, bachelor level or above, is not recognised by a skills assessing authority, then you can contact the Vocational Educational Training and Assessment Services for advice. You will only receive points for your highest qualification regardless of the number of qualifications you may hold. You can only claim PhD points if you actually hold a PhD qualification. Looking at the points table for educational qualifications, as you can see, the higher the qualification, the more points you get. Starting at the top, if you have a doctorate from Australian educational institution or another educational institution that is recognised as the same standard, you can get 20 points. If you have at least a bachelor degree from an Australian educational institution or equivalent from overseas, you can obtain 15 points. Now this includes master's degrees. I frequently get contacted by people who ask me, I have a master's degree, what does that go? That is the equivalent of 15 points because it's at least a bachelor degree and not a PhD. If you hold a diploma or trade qualification from an Australian educational institution, it's worth 10 points. And if you'd attained the qualification or award recognised by the relevant or assessing authority for your nominated skilled occupation as being suitable for that occupation, then you can obtain 10 points. For the subclass 190 visa, you can also look at specialist educational qualifications. Now, these are additional points that you could earn on top of your educational qualification points. For this, you will need to obtain a postgraduate degree by research, either doctorate or master's degree, which must be awarded from an Australian educational institution, not overseas, after at least 2 years of academic study in the fields of either science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or specified information and communication technology fields. For natural and physical sciences, you'll need to have specialist educational qualifications in biological science, chemical science, earth science, mathematical sciences, natural and physical sciences, other natural and physical sciences, physics and astronomy. For information technology, you need to have specialist educational qualifications in computer science, information systems, information technology, and other information technology. For engineering and related technologies, you'll need to have specialist qualifications in aerospace engineering and technology, civil engineering, electrical and electronic engineering and technology, engineering and related technologies, geomatics engineering, manufacturing engineering and technology, mechanical and industrial engineering and technology, other engineering and related technologies, process and resource engineering. The specialist educational qualifications allows you to obtain an additional 10 points. There's an additional 5 points which can be awarded if you studied for your subclass nominated visa subclass 190 in an Australian institution that meets the Australian study requirement. As you can see, this is worth 5 points. In addition, you can obtain 5 points towards your skilled nominated visa, subclass 190, if you've done a professional year in accounting, ICT or computing, or engineering, and this professional year must be within your nominated occupation or a closely related occupation. You must have completed a period of at least 12 months in Australia within 4 years before you were invited to apply for a visa, and provided by either the Australian Computer Society, CPA Australia, Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand, or the Institute of Public Accountants or Engineers Australia. As you can see, this is worth 5 points. Now, to obtain an easy 5 points, you can look at credentialed community language. To obtain 5 points towards the skilled nominated visa subclass 190, you'll need to be credentialed and accredited at the paraprofessional level or above in a community language. Alternatively, you can have a community language credentialed for the interpreter or translating by NAATI. As you can see, this is worth 5 points, but you can't just say, I speak another language. You must be credentialed or accredited for this, and I can't emphasize it enough. Australia has a strong push towards moving people into regional Australia. As such, if you've studied in regional Australia, you can obtain an additional 5 points towards a skilled nominated visa, subclass 190, if you hold a degree, diploma, or trade qualification from an Australian educational institution that satisfies the Australian study requirement, as long as it is in regional Australia. You must have lived and studied at the campus in one or more of the areas listed as a regional Australia or low growth population metropolitan areas, and not studied by distance education to obtain these 5 points. You can obtain an additional 10 points for your partner's skills. Now, to be eligible for the points awarded for your partner towards your own skilled nominated visa, your partner must be an applicant for the same visa subclass and must not already be an Australian permanent resident or citizen. You'll need to prove at the time of invitation that they were under 45 years of age, had at least competent English, had nominated a skilled occupation that is on the same skilled occupation list as your nominated skilled occupation, and had a suitable skills assessment from the relevant assessing authority for the nominated skills occupation, and the assessment was not for a subclass 485 visa. As you can see, the partner skills can obtain 10 points for you. Now, you must be nominated to be invited to apply for the skilled nominated visa subclass 190, and provided that your nomination remains in effect, you can be awarded 5 points, as you can see here on the table. The skilled nominated visa subclass 190 costs over $4,000 to apply for, and you want to get it right first time. Particularly in the area of the understanding of the awarding of points, it's very important that you have a proper understanding of what you can get points for, and how to apply for this visa, what documentation you need, and much more. Therefore, we strongly recommend you use a registered migration agent. Give us a call here at Visas to Australia. Contact details and links are in the description below. Now, stay tuned for more videos and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We look forward to seeing you for our next video about different types of Australian visas.